Two games this weekend for the Tampa Bay Lightning. In Friday's game or Sunday's game, will Andrei Vasilevskiy record his 300th career win? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Welcome into Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Lightning and making Locked On Lightning your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, then this is the podcast for you. Josh Sperber here, talking about a pretty packed weekend for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for your first purchase. And it is almost game time, an 8 o'clock showdown in Minnesota for the Lightning. About a week ago at home, the Minnesota Wild took down Tampa 4-2 with goal number 4 coming on an empty net. And now Tampa tries to go for some revenge. And it is a pretty key game because it could make Andrei Vasilevskiy one of the fastest goaltenders in NHL history to reach his 300th career win. He is standing at 299 after Wednesday's win over the Colorado Avalanche. And now the next win will be 300. A pretty remarkable feat for Vasilevskiy, just continuing to show that he is one of the best he's one of the best goalies in recent memory. I mean, he has just been that good for the Lightning, back-to-back 30-plus save games. And I am going to make a pretty bold prediction just to start this episode off and say that Andrei Vasilevskiy is going to get his 300th career win against the Minnesota Wild on Friday night. I think the Lightning feel like they missed some opportunities in that game. I mean, it was one of those back and forth contests where it seemed like it was in the Lightning hands for a minute early on. The Wild had started things off. The Lightning just kind of clawed their way back into it, and it just didn't end up going Tampa's way. And I think that this is a game that Vasilevskiy wants back. This is a game that the whole team wants back. The Lightning had equaled up the game at the midway through the second period. Kucherov gave them a lead shortly after, and right at the end of the second, Minnesota tied it up, and then they scored the next two goals after that, getting the final 3 to earn the victory. And I think that you heard the way the coaches talked after the game. You heard the way the players were talking in the press conference after the game. And it just seems like a missed opportunity for the Lightning. And in those kind of games with a team, the way Tampa is now, a potential injury to Cernak or not, still no major update on his status. But this is the kind of game early in the season or late in the season, especially since it's this close to the first time these two teams played each other. There's that extra sense of urgency for Tampa. There's that extra incentive for them to win this game because they lost a game that they probably felt they should have won at home. I mean, it was just a back and forth kind of game. They certainly had some times where they had control, but it just didn't end up going their way. And I think that Tampa, who has been so solid on the road thus far, they're going to be able to just rebound and get that, revenge victory. The Lightning have won their last 2 games on the road, are overall 3-2 on the road. None of those losses in overtime. So it's, they're not the hottest road team, but they've still won the majority of their road games. 3 out of 5 at the beginning of the season is about as good as you can hope for, but the Wild have been about as good as you can hope for over the course of the season. They are 1-0-1 at home, and they won their last game. Just one loss on the season in regulation, and currently third in the Central Division. And among the top teams in the Western Conference, Winnipeg, who the Lightning play on Sunday, are first in that Central Division of the Western Conference. So it's just a tough slate of road games for Tampa. And I think the Lightning are coming off of a really great win against Colorado. That Kucherov-McKinnon rivalry gives that game somewhat of an edge. And you could tell that Tampa was pleased with the way they dominated in that one. And I think they're going to build off of that. So just with that momentum carrying them into this game, I think it's going to be this one where Vasilevsky gets his 300th victory. And that would be a heck of a way to start the weekend, and really could mean a whole lot to affect the Sunday game against Winnipeg, who is one of, if not the best team in the league right now. So these are two games that could really set the tone, really plot the course for what the rest of the Lightning season is going to be. Are there going to be some, borderline playoff team that just makes it in the last couple days of the season, or are they going to be a contender? And getting these kind of wins early on in the season can help establish themselves as a contender against these top teams that they might be seeing in the Stanley Cup. And that's the challenges that they have. I mean, who knows how long the run to the Wild or the Jets will last, but right now it's a battle of two of the top teams in the league. And that's the way the Lightning won it. I think they definitely thrive when they're against tougher competition. And for the most part, they have played. It just seems like they play for more when they're playing against those top level teams, and it just means more to the players when they can get those wins over the top guys. And a couple players I think for Tampa are going to be key. I think Jake Gensel is someone who I really have my eye on for another big game. 2 goals in the last game. He might provide some more helpers this time, but I think he's someone that the Lightning have really started to get involved lately, and I think they're going to go to him again to get some more points. I think Tampa also needs some goals on the power play. Braden Point, 3 of his 6 goals this season have been on the power play, and he single-handedly his 60% of Tampa's power play goals this season. So I think he is someone else the Lightning have to look to just kind of unleash, and Nikita Kucherov just has to keep doing this thing. He right now just seems like you can't defend him. If Kucherov has the puck on his stick, you might as well just take the goalie out of the net and let him walk it in himself. It's just kind of been like that for Kucherov lately. He just seems to have such great control of the puck. His shots are good. His shots are smart. His passes are as great as always. I mean, I'm still tripping over that assist that he had to Gensel, just that perfect one-timer from behind the net. I mean, these are the kind of plays that almost seem expected from Kucherov, but it's still the way that he makes those plays look, the skill that he shows is just remarkable. And I think we might not see another highlight reel play like that, but I think Kucherov is going to have another multi-point game. He is behind just 3 players in 3-point games since he has entered the league. And he's tied with Leon Draisaitl of the Oilers for 3rd in that. I don't know. I think this one of these 2 games this weekend, he's going to have another 3-point game as well. I think we'll see a 300th win from Vasilevsky and another 3-point or maybe even more from Nikita Kucherov. I think both of them are just hot right now. You got a hot goalie in net, and you got Kucherov, who is continuing to play like a leading Hart Trophy candidate. He was my beginning of the season prediction for the Hart Trophy. I think that's that and maybe the Vezina for the Big Cat, but I think those are the awards that we're going to be talking about the most as guys the Lightning might, awards the Lightning players might nab. And I think that Kucherov is certainly playing every bit to that role. He is not just going to settle for that Art Ross season last year. I think he's going to break 100 points once again, be well clear of that mark, and maybe even challenge his own personal career high that he set with 144 last season. But is Nikita Kucherov the bolt of the month for the first month of the season? we'll talk about some of the candidates and who I think is the winner. We'll have the poll on X later on as well. Ever feel like you need a little boost in the bedroom? It is time you stop worrying about your performance and get him so you can feel confident knowing you can get hard and stay hard whenever you're in the mood. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual healthcare treatments from the comforts of your couch. Hims provides a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis, as well as their generics, to up to 95% cheaper. You can do it without the need for a doctor's visit. The process is online and no insurance is needed. One low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/locked on. That's HIMS.com/LOCKEDON for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/locked on. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. And once you're past the bedroom life, you can go out and go to some fun live events. And the best way to get tickets for most of those live events is on Game Time. And Game Time even has a feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And I really like the feature on Game Time that you can really see a 3D model of your seat before you buy it, and it really gets a clear view of the seat that you're purchasing. It's one of the reasons that I try and use Game Time for every ticket purchase that I make. And you too can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Make sure to download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, spelled LOCKEDON NHL, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. So we're going to introduce a new little segment, which will happen once a month, usually on the first of the month or as close to it as we will get. And it is the Bolt of the Month, who you guys think is going to be the top Lightning player, or was the top Lightning player for, in this case, the first month of the season in October. And there are a lot of stars that I think you can choose from. And I think we'll get an offensive player and a defensive player. And I think defensively is really the easiest decision of all of them, and that is J.J. Moser. He leads all of the Lightning players with plus 12, so the highest goal differential when he is on the ice. And I think it's not just because of that. I mean, he's made so many just great defensive plays that aren't going to show up on the stat sheet. He's contributed well on the offensive side of things. 8th on the Lightning with 6 points, 2 goals and 4 assists, tied with Victor Hedman for first in goals and second in assists among defensemen. But it's been his work on the defensive side of things that has really impressed me the most. He was one of the guys that, frankly, I didn't know too much about, and I think that's true for a lot of people at the beginning of the season. Just a young kind of defender who had just passed prospect status, really. Second full season with the Coyotes under his belt. And then in the Sergachev trade, he comes to Tampa, and I feel like I'm a broken record talking about how he changed sides, but he switched the typical sides of defense that he plays on. And I mean, to do that in your first year with a new team is difficult enough in and of itself, and you couldn't tell. You'd think he'd be playing. He's played on this side of defense for his entire life. It has just been that seamless a transition. And, whether he's diving for loose pucks, blocking shots, making hits, just marking his man or helping on the offensive side of things, Moser has been a big part in seemingly every single win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's been a line one defender in all 10 games so far in the month of October. And it has been so far an outstanding return on a trade that was pretty controversial at the time with Sergachev going, and obviously bringing Connor Geekie, who is certainly a Bolt of the Month candidate, definitely the Rookie of the Month, but it's mainly because he is the Lightning rookie this year. But I think the defensive Bolt of the Month will have to go to J.J. Moser for sure. On the offensive side, I think it's easy to say Nikita Kucherov. I mean, statistically, he's been the best offensive player on the Lightning by every metric. The only stat that he doesn't lead on the offensive side of things for Tampa is power play goals and plus or minus, both of which he trails to Braden Point. But one of his 9 goals has been on the power play, a couple of empty netters, 8 assists, which is second on the team. But it's that reason why we have a different Bolt of the Month for October. And I am going to go with Anthony Cirelli. Cirelli or Hagel, I think either of those two guys could be candidates. Geekie is certainly an argument that you can have, but I think Cirelli is going to be my pick. I think I'm always a fan of guys who are about spreading the wealth, and you've got Hagel, who is just a hunter for scoring chances, and Connor Geekie, looking to make a name for himself, starting out pretty aggressively on the offensive side, trying getting himself involved. But I mean, I think the reason that second line has been so solid has been Anthony Cirelli kind of spearheading the puck movement there. And with those 10 helpers, I don't think anyone on the Lightning this year has done a better job of setting up scoring chances. It might look a bit flashier from Nikita Kucherov. Might come a little bit more often in other ways from guys like Brandon Hagel or Braden Point. But I think Cirelli also just has the element of surprise. I mean, he is not someone that you would expect to have. You would have expected to lead the Lightning in assists in the first month of the season, but he has really stepped up his game and turned into a crucial part of the Tampa Bay Lightning offense at the start of the season. So I think defensively, it's going to be Moser. Offensively, it's going to be Cirelli. And if we can only pick one between the two, that makes it a little bit tougher. But I think I'm going to have to go with Cirelli still. I think Moser, being the line one guy, he's filled in in every way that you have possibly hoped. But I mean, Cirelli was just such a big surprise with how active he has been in passing the puck. And I think that, with just the fact that he really he hasn't had a better start to a season in his Lightning career. He's really starting to come into his own and establish himself as one of the premier offensive players on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think that just with his, kind of somewhat sudden emergence, that 4 assist game certainly helped him as well. But he has been so solid and so consistent for the Lightning that I think he is going to have to get that Bolt of the Month honor. But you can vote when we post it on our Twitter a little bit later today. Check out our X at @LO_Lightning for that. Make sure to give that a follow as well. And we are still following the Tampa Bay Lightning as they continue their road trip. Road trip game number 1, a victory over the Avalanche. Game number 2 of the 4-game trip will be decided later tonight. Game number 3, we won't have another full episode to preview, so we're going to talk another upcoming matchup for the Tampa Bay Lightning, that 3 o'clock Sunday matinee against the Winnipeg Jets, one of the leaders in the NHL right now. Stay tuned as the Lightning jet off to Canada for their second game of the weekend. Get ready to tackle NHL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives everything you need to place live bets on the NHL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more here with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and America's #1 sportsbook. And the Lightning do not have odds for the Jets game, but it is the Wild who are favored against Tampa on the road with the over-under set at 6.5. And the Wild slight favorites at home against Tampa on Friday. And one of my favorite places that I have found in the Tampa Bay area has been the Joint Chiropractic. I've had back issues for a number of years now, and just one visit to the Joint has really helped. They've got me on a stretching program. They have such a great staff, so knowledgeable, and very, very informative and helpful when you come in there with your back pain or any pain that you may have. And you can get your first visit for $19 when you check below and go to Buccaneers.com/fans, contests, and promotions. And you can schedule your session with $19 off at one of the Joint Chiropractic's 23 Tampa area locations. Back for the final segment as we preview the final game of the weekend for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Hopefully by this time, we'll have already seen Andrei Vasilevskiy with his 300th win, but it'll be a taller order to get that win over the Winnipeg Jets. They lead the NHL in wins. They have one loss that came in regulation, and they have a goal differential of 22. Currently second in the league in goals scored with 46. And they are also 4-1-0 at home. Not too far off of their first home loss, but they won their last game heading into the weekend on Friday. And then the Tampa Bay Lightning will have to take them on. And the Jets were a playoff team last year as well. Many say that they underachieved, but this year they're looking to right those wrongs. As the Jets this year, though, just about every step of the way, they have been one of, if not the top teams in the entire league. And it is just a real team effort, the way that they do things. You don't see a lot of guys who are, huge, just transcendent stars on the team. But, Kupari, a solid player, Namestnikov, sorry if I messed up that pronunciation, but so many just solid players that the Lightning are going to have to go up against. And I think this is going to be a time where the Lightning's defense is going to be tested. I think if you look through the first month of the season, if you're trying to highlight a weakness for Tampa Bay, it has been on the defensive side of the puck, whether that has been, the odd rough game from Andrei Vasilevskiy or just the power play, the penalty kill problem, not being able to score as much on power plays as they have in the past. They're still kind of adjusting to the loss of Stamkos, and really the only place you can see it is on the Lightning's power play, because you just haven't seen that much success. And Winnipeg is right in the middle of it in penalty kill percentage, but top in the league, scoring on almost 50% of their power plays at 44. And it has been the power play, the special teams, penalty kill, any way you want to call it, that has been a problem area for the Lightning this season. If the Lightning, and I think for the most part, Tampa has kept it relatively clean when it comes to penalties. But, if they make those mistakes, the Jets are a team that can get those penalties, make the most out of those penalties, take advantage of the opponent's mistakes. They do that more than any other team in the league. So I think the Lightning are going to have to win that special teams battle. And priority number one for Sunday's game, regardless of what happens on Friday, is, keep your guys out of the penalty box and don't give Winnipeg a chance to get you on the power play. And the Lightning, if Winnipeg makes mistakes, and I'm sure that they will at some point, then the Lightning have to take advantage of those mistakes. And you're also a battle between two of the best goalies in the league. Hellebuck and Vasilevsky, each with one shutout, but Hellebuck with the advantage, 212 goals allowed average and a save percentage of over .920. The Lightning with a home loss against Toronto, the only blemish on the month of October. And I mean, it's just going to be a tough task. They spread the puck around so well, and the Lightning are going to have to look out for that. I think the defensively, this is going to be one of the more challenging games for the Lightning this season, and it's going to be a real true test of their defensive identity because of just how much that has plagued Tampa over the course of the season. And of course, the offense is going to have to be firing on all cylinders. First, second line, Tampa is going to have to are really going to have to dominate. Cirelli with 7 assists in his last 5 games. Brandon Hagel leading the way with 4 goals and 4 assists over the last 5 games. They're going to have to stay hot through the Wild game and the days off in between. The Lightning are just going to have to keep the offense firing on all cylinders, and that is going to mean a big game from Nikita Kucherov. I think when you're playing a team like Winnipeg, one of the top teams in the league, team with a target on their back, you look to your stars, you look to your key players, you look to guys like Nikita Kucherov who can just take over games. And you're going to need a game like that from Nikita Kucherov against a team like the Winnipeg Jets. And I think if Kuch has another one of his 3-point games, then the Lightning could be in business. And if the Lightning are going to beat Winnipeg, he's going to have to do that. He's going to have to get that 93rd game of 3 points or more since entering the league a little over 10 years ago. And I think he can do that against Winnipeg, but it's still going to be a tough one. I mean, I never like predicting that Tampa is going to lose on this podcast, but that is one of those games that it's hard to make a just really bold claim like that and say the Lightning are going to win. I'd love to say they're going to win every single game, but I think they're going to need a 3-point or more game from Nikita Kucherov if they're going to want to take down the Winnipeg Jets. And of course, they're going to have to win the goalie battle. I mean, these are 2 of the top 5 goaltenders in the leagues across just about any metric that you have. And you're going to see a lot of shots from both teams. You're going to see 2 teams, I think, with a more offensive identity, a team that really lives and dies with how strong their attack is. And that's going to pose a challenge for the goalkeepers. So I think Andrei Vasilevsky is going to have to outduel Connor Hellebuck from Winnipeg. And I think the defense of the Jets is certainly tough, but I don't think there's a goaltender in this league with, there might be a handful of exceptions. Igor Shesterkin of the Rangers comes to mind, but I mean, there are very few goaltenders in the league that I would say are on or at Andrei Vasilevsky's level. And I think if it comes down to a battle of the goaltenders, I'd bet on Andrei Vasilevsky. And no matter how good his opposition is, he is just a gamer, and he's just a guy who wants those big games, and he thrives in those big moments. And I think he's going to need another one of those big moments like he's had in the past couple of games if the Lightning are going to get a win on Sunday and hopefully end the weekend with a sweep. And we'll see how that goes on Monday's show. Until then, thank you for tuning in and making Locked On Lightning your first listen today. For your second listen, make sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steel and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Be on the lookout for that poll on X, and make sure to give us a like, a follow, and a subscribe, regardless of what service you follow on your podcast. We do this show for you guys, so we really appreciate your support coming our way as well. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Lightning. I'm Josh Sperber saying so long, enjoy your weekend, and of course, go Bolts.